I was drunk. And now I know what people feel like when they're going into battle. Because it's right, anyway. There's 26 pages to get through. So no toilet breaks and we'll shoot on in. So I've known Johanna for 25 years and I have to say it's a pleasure to be able to share this day with herself and Nick. And okay, you're going to have to bear with me while I stumble through this. I've asked for advice from people about, making speeches, and, I think most of it was just speak from the heart and don't try and make people laugh. So I'm not going to make any references to stories that I could have brought up that may embarrass people. And I'm not going to ask how Johanna had the audacity, the sheer brazenness to get married in white. But that's not why we're here. It's a celebration, it's not a roast. I've heard cringe-worthy stories of people who bring up exes at weddings, and it's never a good idea, and they start talking about them and people get embarrassed, and whether it be Johanna get embarrassed, but especially I wouldn't like to embarrass Nick. So I did come up with a few names of some boyfriends, and that we laugh about now, but out of respect, as I said, to Johanna and obviously to Nick, I'm just going to leave those names to one side, so bear with me. So we're going to skip that. There were some rather embarrassing stories to go along with these names, and again, I don't think they're appropriate for the day, and I don't think anybody came here to be offended. It's a time for a celebration, as said. So there'll be no mention of the incident with the rug. The time we met Gunther's parents, that video was Laytown FC, and I think of her Frankie's face. I couldn't in good conscience bring up the babysitting incident, the picnic with Clement and the cat litter. Again, we'll leave that to one side. The reason he got barred from Drogheda Public Library. And there's no way I could even mention the time he got deported from Cuba. The stories are there if anybody wants to read them. So out of 26 pages, we're left with 2. And so instead of trying to embarrass people and trying to be funny, I decided to ask Johanna's friends, the people that know her best, what attributes do they admire in Johanna and what makes her the person that she is. And obviously this isn't an easy thing for people to put their finger on. There's so many qualities that Johanna has that make her a great friend. But I think the overwhelming consensus is that she's a fantastic typist. 55 words per minute, and we're up there with the very best. And I think there's people have told me that they've seen her being able to reach 70 words per minute. And I think for the people here in this room, that more than anything goes a long way to defining what kind of friend Johanna is. And obviously people mention the Cuban incident and the time we met Gunther's parents, but again, a time and a place. Some people mention Johanna's storytelling abilities and the fact that there's not a person in the room that she couldn't put to sleep by regaling them with her childhood memories. Those wild, rebellious teenage years where she skipped mass one Sunday and made up for it by saying 47 decades of the rosary. There was a hedonistic summer of '89 where she once stood beside a couple of her friends who happened to be smoking a cigarette. On that Saturday in August where she heard somebody talking about underage drinking, it was just crazy, crazy times. To hear Johanna tell us, it's like you were there. She weaves a tapestry of banal ideas and insignificant details into tales that will be known to leave people in tears of boredom and disinterest. Now, when I was younger and our whole lives were ahead of us, myself and John had made a pact that when we reached 40 and neither of us were married, that we would marry each other. At the time it seemed so far away, and then the years pass, and with an impending feeling of doom, 40 started creeping ever closer. I hit my mid-30s and still neither of us were any closer to finding the one. And it was frightening, and you know, there were times I felt scared, and I started thinking, you know, what started out as a humorous pact could be construed as a binding verbal contract. But then Nick came along. My darling saviour Nick. I think in most weddings during the speeches they talk about the men in the country losing out to the bride because she'll, you know, be off the market, and I wanted to finish by saying something along those lines, and I wanted to tell Nick that he's the luckiest man in the world to have found someone like Johanna. But I'm not going to stand here and blatantly lie to him. But I will tell you that I feel an overwhelming sense of relief. And I'd like to say, Nick, you're looking gorgeous. And I've no idea what dirt Johanna found in you to force you into this. But it's too late now to back out. What's done is done, and there's no takesy backsies. And as I said, Sarah here, I've known Johanna for 25 years and flat. I think you'll have to capture this moment because I don't think I've ever met a funnier, more caring, generous person in all that time. She's intelligent and silly, genuine, opinionated, honest, annoying, loving, and I have to say, with hand on heart, definitely one of the good ones, and I do love you to pieces.
I love you.
So with some reluctance, I ask you to raise your glasses and help me toast one of the most amazing men I've ever met. To the groom and bride.